It's a pleasure to be talking again on the World Economic Forum. And as I've always felt, this is a great forum from where we can project our views about our economy and talk to the investors. So let me just say, first of all, that Pakistan had stabilized its economy and was heading in the right direction when COVID hit us. And just like every country got badly hit by COVID because this was something unprecedented. And it was unprecedented because of the lockdown. There's no precedence of an economy being locked down, completely shut, and the consequences of that shutdown. That's really what the world is coping with. So for us, it was not just a question of curtailing the virus, but it was also stopping our people dying from hunger. And we very quickly realized that when you lock down an economy, you have to take care of those people who are daily wagers, whose family depend on their earnings on a daily basis or a weekly basis. And if you lock the economy down, not only these people get affected, but secondly, those people, who are in the informal sector, like the labor in Pakistan's labor, 80% is in the informal sector. So we have no record of them. So unlike the US, where you could send money to their bank accounts, we couldn't do that. So we quickly realized that we could not impose a lockdown like the one imposed in Europe or in China. We realized that we had to go for a smart lockdown. In other words, have spot the hotspots and lock them down, but do not really have a strict lockdown because you can't lock down hungry people. So that worked. We opened up our economy quicker than others. We never locked down the agriculture sector, which was basically rural. We opened up the construction sector, which was in the cities. And because it was mainly outdoor, there was no spread because opening up the construction sector. And then we had a cash program where we gave about 15 million families were given cash handouts. And it was one of the best programs. And that really saved us from the worst effects of the lockdown. And actually, because the people were with us, the public complied with our measures, we came out of it better than any other country. So we saved our economy from its worst effects. Also, we saved people dying from the virus. Now, of course, we are hitting a second peak. And my worry right now is that, number one, because we succeeded so well, people are no longer that worried about the virus anymore. And so we do not find that sort of level of compliance. And secondly, we do not know how long this second wave, because it's in the winter, we don't know what this winter wave is going to be like. So, there's a bit of worry right now because our cases are climbing up quite rapidly these days. The lessons we learned from the first wave of COVID was that we, in our country, with our high levels of poverty and with a young population, high levels of unemployment, we cannot afford a lockdown where we lock down our businesses, where we lock down the factories. So we have taken a policy decision that we are going to keep the businesses and the factories which employ people. We are not going to lock them down. We are going to only lock down the non-essential, in other words, public gatherings and so on, where our economy doesn't get hurt, because we feel that the consequences of hurting our economy on the people is going to be far greater than the effects of the virus. Now, the two challenges we faced, the two biggest challenges, one was the fiscal deficit. When we came to power, it was the biggest ever fiscal deficit in our history. And second was the current account deficit, the external deficit. And that also was a record deficit. So the first year and a half really was stabilizing the economy to bring these deficits down. So cutting our expenditure, improving governance, and then improving the tax collection remedy the fiscal imbalancing. And secondly was cutting down on our imports and trying to stimulate our exports, stimulate remittances into Pakistan, because that forms a considerable part of our foreign exchange earning. Foreign direct investment, which was improving and fortunately is improving again. And then also clamp down on money laundering. Now, this is a big problem in the developing world where illegal, illicit flows of money leave our country to offshore accounts and so on. This illegal money. So we clamp down on that too. As a result, after 17 years, the last quarter, we had a current account surplus. This is after 17 years, so this was a big achievement, and which reflected on the stability of our currency, because we have our currency is now floated and it's on a market-based exchange rate. So our current currency stabilized, in fact, gained in the last few months. Our exports started increasing, because previously our exchange rate was artificially kept high. As a result, the exports went down, and we had the biggest trade gap of $40 billion between import and exports. Our exports started improving. We also gave incentives to the export industry, to the industry in general. And so we are seeing, compared to all the other countries who've been hit by COVID, Pakistan is that fortunate country where our stock exchange shows that the business community has confidence in us. Our exchange rate reflects that. We have now cement sales are highest in our history, which means that the construction, the incentives given to the construction sector have worked. So the construction sector is on the move, which means more employment. Our textile industry at the moment is running full. The hub of the city, which is the hub of the textile industry, Faisalabad, they are short of labor right now. So the measures we took first stabilized and now are heading in the right direction. Of course, I say this because we do not now know, and we are praying that the second wave of COVID does not really make us take those measures which affect this right trend, the country which is heading in the right direction. CPEC is not exclusive to just China. CPEC is, first of all, it started with connectivity. It was a transport, a road network which connected various areas in Pakistan. Secondly, it was about power generation. We were short of power, so we needed power generation, to fuel the growing population and the growth rate. So now the second phase of CPEC is more than connectivity. It is special economic zones which we are opening up. With special incentives there. It is about agriculture, where we really need help from China because their productivity in agriculture is much higher than in Pakistan. And it's about also these technology institutes which we want help from China because of digitalization of Pakistan, improving our e-commerce. So we need skilled labor for that. So that's also part of CPEC. But mainly it is about connectivity. It connects Pakistan to China, which is one of the biggest markets. First time in Pakistan's history, we are modernizing our railway. And it will completely revolutionize railway travel in Pakistan, which is called the ML1. And it connects Karachi right up to Peshawar. And the next phase, we want to connect it right through Afghanistan to Uzbekistan. So it will connect us to China. And also, we hope that there will be an east-west. Unfortunately, with India right now, we have a problem. And we hope that this will change with a new government, which is a moderate government. We have where we can resume normal relationship with India. But with Iran, if sanctions are lifted there, we then have a north to south, east to west connectivity, and Pakistan's special strategic location connects it to the biggest biggest markets, as well as the energy corridor. So we are really very well placed, and CPEC is a great opportunity to now move forward from here. And as I said, it's not exclusive to China. Anyone can become part of the CPEC. the key for us right now is Afghanistan. It's after a long time that there is a prospect of peace. For some reason, there were attempts for a military solution, and here's someone who kept saying that there was never going to be a military solution. Finally, the peace talks started, and Pakistan played a huge part in getting the Americans and the Taliban to sit on a table. And then it played another very difficult to get an intra-Afghan dialogue going. Now, unfortunately, the level of violence is growing in Afghanistan, and this is of concern to us because we believe that peace in Afghanistan has huge dividends, first of all to the people of Afghanistan, but then to people of Pakistan. It connects us right up to Central Asia. And as you quite rightly said, Central Asia has this huge untapped potential, which will be of great benefit to us and to Central Asia if they can connect right down. They're landlocked, and they can, through Gwadar, they can be connected to the world. The great hope here is that these talks succeed and there is peace in Afghanistan. And apart from anything else, the tribal belt of Pakistan, the strip of land adjoining Pakistan and Afghanistan, they were devastated by the war on terror. And the best way to rehabilitate and to give employment to the people there is if there is peace in Afghanistan, and the adjoining areas will benefit the most from trading and connectivity. If someone asked me what was President Trump's greatest achievement, for me it is this resumption of the Afghan peace process. I feel that it was a great achievement of his because he literally forced this peace process to take place. And the fact that after so many years there's a dialogue going on, no matter how difficult, and it was always going to be difficult. The longer the conflict, the harder it is to bridge that divide which that conflict creates. So I feel that President Trump did a great job here, and I'm convinced that President-elect Biden is not going to reverse this because there is no other solution. I mean, there is only one way forward. You can't have a conflict going on for 19 years and no result and expect that you keep doing the same thing over and over again and you expect a result in the next 19 years. So therefore, I think everyone will be trying to push this peace process. Let me just say one thing. That, we see our government as a facilitator, to facilitate the private sector. We believe that, the government's job is not to actually come into business, except in certain crucial areas. But in this field, we really believe that it's the private sector that needs to be encouraged and facilitated. So the answer is yes, this is the future, public-private partnership. And the sectors you mentioned are extremely important: agriculture, governance system, because the efficiency in governance system comes with e-governance. And we have actually set ourselves deadline when we want all our government departments to be on e-government rather than the old paper-pushing departments. Pakistan's retail sale is almost around 125 to 130 billion dollars. It's a huge market, 220 million people, young population. And you mentioned groceries. This is something which really we have been working on in the past 4 or 5 months because of our food inflation. And we want somehow to encourage wholesale, or where the retail can get directly stuff from the farmers so that we can, the consumers can get low price groceries. And this has been a discussion going on within our government. But we would love you to give your point of view. And Dr. Hafiz, since he heads the committee which looks at food inflation on a weekly basis, he knows all about the efforts we are trying to make to somehow bring down the cost of vegetables and groceries. So we would really love you to give your input in this. We want 3 things. Number one, we want the actual farmers to get paid more, because at the moment they do not get paid much. The middleman gets most of the money. So the one who works hard, number one, we want him to get paid more. And secondly, we want the consumers to get a lower price. And thirdly, we would want our products to be graded. Problem is, this is, Pakistan has some of the best fruits and vegetables in the world. Problem is, because we don't grade them, we cannot market them, we can't export them as well. So, you have that expertise, so we would love to have that knowledge from you. This government would really encourage any automobile investors in this country and especially who can export from Pakistan. So who can, manufacture the automobiles here and then export. And we have given a series of incentives for them. And in fact, there has been a growth post-COVID. There has been a growth in the sales of motor cars in Pakistan. And secondly, we have also just come up with an electric vehicle policy. So that also we are encouraging right now, bearing in mind this government is very conscious of the environment and the global warming and climate change. We've taken various steps. And one of them is that we are now encouraging electric vehicles to be made in Pakistan. We have gained 28 paces in the ease of doing business. We've improved in 1 year. I can just say one thing, that in Pakistan, in 60s, we were a model for the developing world. Pakistan was industrializing quicker than any other country in Asia. And Pakistan was given example of success. Unfortunately, 70s, we went the other way. We became more a socialist country, and so profit making almost became a crime at one point, which is sadly what happened in those days of where there were two camps, capitalism and communism. So we went that way in 70s, and that choked our industrial development. This is the first government in Pakistan since 60s which has made it a point that we want to make profit making easy for people. So we want to do everything to make it easy for investors to make profit in Pakistan. And so as a result, we are trying to remove all the impediments that were in the way of profit making. So that means dealing with regulations, with red tape, all the problems we were stuck with. And so we are moving in that direction, and it is reflected now, and especially in our construction sector, because that's one sector where 30 industries are attached to it. So once that gets going, the other 30 industries all start moving up. And that is where it has taken us almost a year to remove all the impediments that were in the way of the construction sector. And that's what we are trying to do in the small and medium industry. This Pakistan, the current Pakistan of the 220s, is all about creating wealth by industrializing, by making it easy for industrialists, and then using that wealth to lift our people out of poverty. And it's actually a model which China followed. Our biggest problem right now in Pakistan has been very expensive energy. We unfortunately, the sort of power generation contracts we signed in the past, the cost of that generation is unfortunately so high that we are almost 25% more expensive, producing more expensive energy in Pakistan compared to our competitors like Bangladesh and India. And I mean 25% more expensive energy to industry. And therefore, it has actually impeded our industrialization, which means wealth creation, and which means our inability to sort of raise people out of poverty or even to pay our debts. So therefore, our biggest challenge has been now to provide affordable energy to our industry.